The purple flowers growing along the garden walls smelled like cinnamon and rain. Lily pressed her nose close to the petals, breathing in the strange scent. Everything on this planet was different from Earth. The grass here was silver instead of green, and the trees had leaves that chimed softly when the wind touched them. She had wandered away from her mother's boring meeting with the dragon officials. Nobody noticed when a small human child slipped through the tall doors and found her way outside. Lily was 9 years old, small even for her age, with dark hair tied back in a messy braid. Her mother worked as a diplomat, which meant lots of traveling to alien worlds and lots of waiting around while adults talked about treaties and trade agreements. This planet was called Ashera, home to the dragons. Not the fairy tale kind that breathed fire and hoarded gold. These dragons were real, massive creatures who walked on 2 legs, spoke dozens of languages, and ruled over 17 star systems. The garden stretched out before her like something from a dream. Crystalline fountains bubbled with water that glowed faintly blue. Paths of smooth white stone wound between flower beds filled with plants that seemed to shift colors in the sunlight. Lily followed one path deeper into the garden, away from the palace buildings. She knew she probably should not be here, but curiosity pulled her forward. That was when she saw him that a dragon sat alone on a stone bench beneath a tree with silver leaves. He looked young, maybe a teenager in dragon years, though Lily was not sure how that worked. His scales were deep blue, almost black, and they gleamed like polished metal. His wings were folded tight against his back. He sat perfectly still, his head tilted slightly as if listening to something she could not hear. Lily stopped walking. Her mother had warned her to be respectful around dragons. They were proud creatures, ancient and powerful. Most of them looked at humans the way humans might look at clever pets. But this dragon seemed sad, sitting all alone in this beautiful garden. She took a step closer. The dragon's head turned toward her, though his eyes did not quite focus on where she stood. They were beautiful eyes, silver like moonlight, but there was something strange about them. They stared past her, through her, at nothing. "Hello," Lily said quietly. The dragon's whole body went tense. His claws scraped against the stone bench. "Who is there?" "My name is Lily. I am human. I got lost looking for the bathroom." This was partly true. She had been looking for the bathroom when she found the door to the garden instead. "You should not be here," the dragon said. His voice was deep, but not unkind. "This is the private royal garden. Outsiders are forbidden." "Oh," Lily bit her lip. I can leave if you want. But are you okay? You seem lonely." The dragon made a sound somewhere between a laugh and a sigh. "Lonely? Yes. An accurate observation, small human." He gestured with one clawed hand at the bench beside him. "Sit if you wish. Since you have already broken the rules by coming here, you might as well stay a moment." Lily climbed up onto the bench. It was made for dragons, so her feet dangled high above the ground. Up close, she could see the intricate patterns of scales covering his skin, each one perfectly fitted to the next. "What is your name?" "Aldrich." He paused. "Prince Aldrich, son of Empress Talindra, heir to the throne of Ashera." He said the titles like they were weights chained to his neck. "That sounds important," Lily said. "It would be if I were not broken." Aldrich turned his head away from her. "I have been blind since I hatched from my egg. Every healer, every scientist, every magic worker across 50 worlds has tried to cure me. All have failed. Dragons consider blindness a curse. Many in the court whisper that I am unfit to rule. Some say I should never have been allowed to live." Lily felt a sharp anger rise in her chest. "That is mean. You are not broken. How would you know?" Aldrich's voice was bitter. "You have only just met me. Because broken means something does not work at all. But you're talking to me just fine. You heard me walking up. You knew I was here before I even said hello." Lily swung her legs back and forth. "My teacher back on Earth is blind. She uses a cane and a computer that talks to her. She taught me how to read better than anyone. She is not broken either." Aldrich was quiet for a long moment. "Your people accept such things? Some do, some do not. But lots of humans have things that make life different. Some cannot walk, some cannot hear, some have brains that work in unusual ways. We make tools to help. We change how we do things. Lily looked around the garden. Can I tell you what I see? If you wish. So Lily described everything. Not just the colors and shapes, but the way the light fell through the leaves, making patterns on the ground. The way the flowers moved in the breeze like dancers. The tiny insects with transparent wings that hovered over the fountains. She told him about the purple flowers that smelled like cinnamon, and the way the white stone paths seemed to glow from within. As she talked, Aldrich's expression changed. The sadness lifted slightly from his face. His wings relaxed against his back. When she finished, he turned toward her, and though his eyes could not see her, she felt like he was really looking at her for the first time. No one has ever described the world to me that way, Aldrich said softly. The courtiers tell me facts, the color of things, the arrangement of objects. But you made me feel as if I was seeing it. Not with eyes, but with something else. My teacher says there are lots of ways to see, Lily said. Maybe you just need to find your way. Before Aldrich could respond, a deep voice boomed across the garden. Who dares enter the royal sanctuary? Lily turned to see an enormous dragon striding toward them. This one was crimson red with gold markings along her neck and wings. She was twice the size of Aldrich, and her eyes blazed with anger. Behind her came Lily's mother, looking terrified and apologetic. I am so sorry, Your Majesty, Lily's mother said quickly. My daughter wandered off. I did not mean mother, wait. Aldrich stood up from the bench. The human child meant no harm. She was keeping me company. The Empress stopped. She looked at her son, then at Lily, then back at her son. Something in Aldrich's posture was different. He stood straighter. There was light in his face that had not been there in months. You spoke, the Empress said quietly. You have barely said a word to anyone in weeks. She told me about the garden, Aldrich said. She treated me like a person, not a tragedy. The Empress studied Lily with fierce golden eyes. Lily, try not to shake under that gaze. Finally, the great dragon spoke. What is your name? Human child. Lily, Your Majesty. Lily. The Empress seemed to taste the name. My son appears happier than I have seen him in a very long time. Tell me, how long will you be staying on Ashura? 3 months, Lily's mother said nervously. For the trade negotiations. The Empress nodded slowly. Then perhaps, under supervised conditions, you would permit your daughter to visit my son again. If she wishes. Lily looked at Aldrich, who had turned his head toward her hopefully. She smiled. I would like that very much. For the first time since entering the garden, Aldrich smiled back. The next morning, Lily arrived at the royal garden with a bag full of things from her room. Aldrich sat in the same spot as before, waiting beneath the silver tree. A dragon guard watched from a distance, making sure the human child did not cause trouble. The guard looked bored, like he thought babysitting duty was beneath him. I brought stuff, Lily announced, dropping the bag beside the bench with a heavy thunk that Aldrich's head turned toward the sound. What kind of stuff? Things to help you see without eyes. Lily climbed onto the bench and started pulling objects from her bag. My teacher back home taught me about this. There are humans who have been blind their whole lives, and they get around just fine. They just do it differently. She placed something in Aldrich's clawed hand. It was a ball about the size of an apple with a bell inside it. This is from Earth. Roll it on the ground and listen. Aldrich held the ball carefully, as if it might break. Then he tossed it gently onto the stone path. The bell chimed as it rolled, bouncing slightly on the smooth stones. His ears twitched, following the sound. I can hear exactly where it goes. Right? Now you try finding it. Aldrich stood and walked slowly toward where the ball had rolled. He moved carefully, testing each step before putting his weight down. When he reached the ball, he crouched and picked it up, a look of surprise on his face. I did it. Of course you did. Lily pulled out more items. A wooden stick, a book with raised bumps on the pages, a piece of fabric with different textures sewn into it. Humans made all these things to help people understand the world without seeing it. Touch this. She guided his hand to the fabric. Aldrich's claws traced over smooth silk, rough burlap, soft velvet, and bumpy cord. Every material feels completely different. Everything has a texture. You just never paid attention before because everyone kept telling you about colors and shapes. Lily handed him the book. This is called Braille. Feel the dots? Each pattern means a different letter. Humans who cannot see read whole books like this. Aldrich's claws moved gently over the raised dots. His face showed intense concentration. This is remarkable. Your people created an entire system of writing for those without sight. Lots of systems. We make computers that talk. We train dogs to guide people. We put bumps on the ground so people know where the street ends. We do not just give up when things are hard. We find another way. For the next hour, Lily taught Aldrich games from Earth. She showed him how to navigate by sound, clicking his tongue and listening for echoes. She explained how bats flew at night using the same method. Aldrich was amazed that creatures and people could map entire spaces just by listening to how sound bounced back. Walk to the fountain and back, Lily instructed, but do not count steps. Use the sounds. Aldrich stood and clicked his tongue experimentally. The sound bounced off the fountain, the trees, the palace walls. He started walking, clicking every few seconds. His steps grew more confident. When he reached the fountain, he ran his claws through the glowing water, then turned and walked straight back to the bench without hesitation. I could hear everything, he said, his voice filled with wonder. The fountain, the walls, even the archway entrance. It was like seeing a picture made of sound. That is because you're seeing, Lily said, just not with eyes. Over the following days, their lessons continued. Lily brought rocks of different weights and textures. She brought flowers and plants, so Aldrich could learn them by scent. She described clouds and sunsets, not just by color, but by the feeling of the air, the warmth on her skin, the quality of light. The Dragon Court watched these sessions with mixed reactions. Some nobles whispered that it was shameful for a prince to take lessons from a child, especially a human child. Others were curious, noticing how Aldrich changed day by day. He walked taller. He smiled more. He started mapping the entire palace using sound and memory. One afternoon, Aldrich's mother, the Empress, came to observe. She stood at the edge of the garden, hidden behind a pillar, watching as Lily and her son played a game. Lily had hidden the bell ball somewhere in the garden, and Aldrich was hunting for it using only sound and smell. Aldrich moved through the garden with growing confidence. He no longer shuffled carefully like someone afraid of falling. He walked like a prince, his head high, his steps sure. When he found the ball hidden beneath a flowering bush, he held it up triumphantly. Found it. That was way harder than the other times, Lily said, grinning. You're getting really good at this. The Empress stepped forward, revealing herself. Both Lily and Aldrich froze. Mother, Aldrich said, I did not know you were here. I have been watching, the Empress said quietly. She approached her son, studying him closely. You move differently now. You carry yourself with confidence. How? Aldrich turned toward his mother's voice. Lily taught me that being blind is not the same as being helpless. Humans have known this for thousands of years. They adapt. They find new ways. They do not accept that something is impossible just because it is difficult. The Empress looked at Lily, and there was something new in her golden eyes. Not anger or dismissal, but respect. You have given my son something no healer or scholar could provide. You gave him hope. I just showed him stuff from Earth, Lily said, feeling embarrassed by the intense attention from the massive dragon ruler. He did all the hard work himself. No, Aldrich shook his head. You showed me that I was looking at the problem wrong. Everyone tried to fix my eyes. You taught me to use everything else. My ears, my nose, my sense of touch, my memory. You helped me understand that sight is not just about eyes. The Empress was quiet for a long moment. Then she sat down on the grass, making herself smaller, more approachable. Tell me, young Lily, on your world, how do humans help those who cannot see? So Lily told her. She explained about guide dogs and white canes. She talked about audiobooks and screen readers. She described tactile paving on sidewalks and audible crossing signals at intersections. She explained how human society adapted to include everyone, not by fixing them, but by changing the world to work for different needs. As Lily spoke, the Empress listened with complete attention. When Lily finished, the great dragon said, We have focused for so long on curing my son that we never thought to simply help him live differently. We saw his blindness as a problem to eliminate, not a challenge to adapt to. Humans are really good at adapting, Lily said. It is kind of our thing. We're not the strongest or the fastest or the smartest in most ways. But we are really, really good at figuring stuff out and working together and finding solutions that nobody else thought of. The Empress nodded slowly. I begin to understand why your species is spread so far across the galaxy despite being, forgive me, quite fragile physically. She stood up, her decision made. I would like to invite human doctors and scientists to Ashera. If your people have developed ways to help those without sight, perhaps they have knowledge that could benefit my son in ways our own physicians have not considered. Aldrich's head snapped toward his mother. You would ask humans for help? I would do anything for you, my son. Even set aside my pride. The Empress looked at Lily again. Would your people agree to such a thing? Lily thought about it. I think they would. Humans like helping, and they especially like solving problems everyone else thinks are impossible. Then it shall be done. The Empress began walking toward the palace, then paused and looked back. Thank you, Lily of Earth. You have been a better friend to my son than many of his own kind. After she left, Aldrich sat down on the bench, looking stunned. Did that really just happen? I think your mom is going to ask my mom to bring Earth doctors here. Earth doctors? Aldrich tested the words. Do you think they can help me? I do not know, Lily said honestly. But I think they will try really hard. And maybe trying a new way is better than giving up. Aldrich reached out, and Lily took his clawed hand in both of her small human ones. Thank you, he said quietly, for treating me like I was normal, for showing me I could do things, for being my friend. You are welcome, Lily said, squeezing his hand gently. That is what friends do. 3 weeks later, a human medical team arrived on Ashera. They came in a small research vessel, carrying equipment and data files from hundreds of years of human experience with blindness and sensory disorders. The team was led by Dr. Patricia Williams, a neuroscientist who specialized in brain plasticity and sensory substitution technology. Lily sat with Aldrich in a medical chamber while the doctors ran their tests. Dragon physicians stood nearby, watching with skeptical expressions. They had already tried everything in their considerable medical knowledge. What could these small, short-lived humans possibly know that dragons did not? Dr. Williams scanned Aldrich's brain activity while he performed the echolocation exercises Lily had taught him. The results made her smile. Remarkable. Your brain has already begun rewiring itself. The auditory processing center has expanded significantly. You are developing neural pathways we typically only see in humans who have been blind from birth. Is that good? Aldrich asked. Very good. It means your brain is adaptable. That is exactly what we need. Dr. Williams pulled up a holographic display showing a complex device. Prince Aldrich, we have reviewed your case extensively. The genetic condition affecting your eyes cannot be repaired with current medical technology. Your optic nerves never fully developed. However, that does not mean you cannot see. The lead dragon physician, an ancient male named Hrothgar, scoffed. We have explored every option, cloning new eyes, regenerating nerve tissue, even mystical healing. All failed. Sight requires eyes. Traditional sight requires eyes, Dr. Williams corrected gently. But the brain is what truly sees. Eyes are just input devices. If we provide visual information through a different pathway, the brain can learn to interpret it as sight. She expanded the hologram, showing a sleek neural interface device. This is a sensory substitution system. It uses external cameras to capture visual information, then translates that data into signals your brain can process through other sensory channels. Over time, your brain will learn to interpret these signals as vision. Aldrich leaned forward, his sensitive hearing picking up the hum of the hologram. How does it work? We place a small neural interface at the base of your skull. External cameras feed it visual data. The interface converts that data into patterns of sensation across your skin and auditory cortex. At first, it will feel strange and overwhelming, but your brain is remarkably plastic. Within weeks or months, you will stop feeling it as touch and sound. You will experience it as sight. This is madness, Hrothgar declared. You propose to make the prince dependent on artificial devices? To corrupt his natural dragon body with mechanical components? I propose to give him access to visual information, Dr. Williams said calmly. Humans have used assistive technology for millennia. Glasses to correct vision, hearing aids to amplify sound, prosthetic limbs, neural implants for paralysis patients. We do not see these as corruption. We see them as tools that allow people to live full lives. The Empress, who had been listening quietly, spoke up. Dr. Williams, would this device allow my son to perceive the world as others do? Not exactly the same, but functionally similar. He would be able to navigate spaces, recognize faces, read text, appreciate art. The experience would be uniquely his own, but it would be genuine perception of visual information. Dr. Williams looked at Aldrich. The question is whether you are willing to try something unprecedented. This has never been done with dragon physiology before. Aldrich was silent for a long moment. Then he turned his head toward where Lily sat. What do you think? Lily hopped off her chair and walked over to him. I think it sounds scary, but also amazing. You will be the first dragon ever to see this way. That is pretty cool. What if it fails? What if I'm still blind, but now also have a machine in my head that does not work? Then you will be exactly where you are now, Lily said simply. Except you will know you tried. And maybe the doctors will learn something that helps other dragons someday. Aldrich's wings rustled, a sign of deep thought. I want to do it. My prince, I must advise against this, Hrothgar said urgently. This technology is untested on our species. The risks are mine to take, Aldrich interrupted. His voice was firm, more commanding than anyone had ever heard from the young prince. I have lived my entire life in darkness, told that I am broken, that I am unfit to rule. If there is even a chance to change that, I will take it. I'm tired of being treated like something fragile that must be protected from every possible harm. I would rather risk failure, trying something new, than spend my life safely doing nothing. The Empress looked at her son with fierce pride. Then it shall be done. Dr. Williams, you have my permission to proceed. What do you need? Time, cooperation, and trust, the doctor said. The surgery itself is delicate but straightforward. The real challenge comes after, during the adjustment period. Prince Aldrich will need support, patience, and someone he trusts to help guide him through the sensory confusion. She looked at Lily. If possible, having his young friend present would be beneficial. I'm not going anywhere, Lily promised. Over the next week, preparations began. The human medical team worked alongside dragon physicians, combining their knowledge. The dragons contributed their deep understanding of dragon neurology and physiology. The humans provided technology and experience with sensory substitution. It was an unprecedented collaboration, but not everyone was happy about it. At a group of dragon nobles, led by a stern female named Surata, came to the Empress with their concerns. Lily watched from a corner as they argued in the throne room. Your Majesty, you cannot allow this, Surata said, her voice sharp. If the prince uses human technology to gain sight, he will be forever marked as different. How can he rule when he is half machine? How can our people respect a leader who needed aliens to fix him? He is not being fixed, the Empress said coldly. He is being given tools to overcome a challenge. It is the same thing. Our people will see him as weak, as contaminated by human influence. The throne requires strength, purity of bloodline, natural ability. A prince who sees through artificial means is no true prince at all. Other nobles murmured agreement. Lily felt anger burning in her chest. She started to step forward, but Aldrich was faster. The young prince had been listening from the side of the room. Now he strode forward, using his spatial memory and echolocation to navigate perfectly to the center of the chamber. You speak of purity and natural ability, Aldrich said, his voice ringing through the hall. Tell me, Surata, do you not wear armor in battle? Is that not artificial protection? Do you not use tools to build, weapons to hunt, ships to travel between stars? All of these are artificial means to overcome natural limitations. How is my situation any different? Surata opened her mouth, then closed it, searching for words. Aldrich continued, I am blind. This is a fact. For my entire life, I've been told this makes me unfit, unable, unworthy. But in the past weeks, a 9-year-old human child has taught me something our entire civilization missed. Disability is only as limiting as we choose to make it. If we adapt, if we use tools, if we think differently, there are no true limits. That is the human way. Maybe it should be the dragon way too. Humans are weak creatures who need constant assistance, Hrothgar said dismissively. We are dragons. We should be above such dependencies. Are we? Aldrich turned toward the old physician's voice. We depend on our ships for space travel. We depend on our technology for communication across distances. We depend on countless tools and systems every single day. The only difference is that you do not think of those as weaknesses because everyone uses them. You only judge me because I need something different than what you need. Lily stepped forward then, her small voice somehow carrying through the huge chamber. On Earth, we have a saying, asking for help is not weakness, it is wisdom. The strongest people are the ones brave enough to admit they cannot do everything alone. Aldrich is braver than any of you because he is willing to try something new, something scary, something that might fail. That takes more strength than pretending to be perfect. The throne room fell silent. The Empress looked at her son, then at the human child, then at her assembled nobles. When she spoke, her voice was absolute. The decision is made. My son will receive this treatment. If any of you question his fitness to rule based on how he gains sight, then you question my judgment as well. I suggest you reconsider your positions carefully. The nobles bowed, accepting the command even if they disagreed. As they filed out, Sarita shot a venomous look at Lily. The message was clear. This was not over. After they left, Aldrich sat down heavily on the floor. His confidence from the speech evaporated, replaced by doubt. What if they are right? What if this makes me wrong somehow? The Empress came to her son, lowering her massive head to touch his gently. You are my son. You are already perfect. This device will not change who you are. It will only give you another tool to experience the world. Do not let fear of others' judgment steal your chance at something wonderful. Lily sat down beside Aldrich. Also, if it makes you feel better, humans deal with this stuff all the time. People always have opinions about how others should live. But the only opinion that really matters is yours. You get to decide what is right for you. Aldrich managed a small smile. When did you become so wise? I am 9. I have been alive a whole 9 years. That is a lot of experience, Lily said seriously, making both Aldrich and his mother laugh. The surgery was scheduled for the following week. As Lily left the palace that evening, she noticed Sarita watching from a balcony. The noble dragon's expression promised trouble ahead. The surgery took place in the largest medical chamber in the palace. Dragon healers and human doctors worked side by side, their different approaches combining into something neither species could have achieved alone. Dr. Williams led the human team with steady hands and calm instructions. Hrothgar, despite his initial skepticism, contributed his deep knowledge of dragon neurological structures. Lily was not allowed in the operating chamber, but she refused to leave the medical wing. She sat in the waiting area with her mother and the Empress, watching through observation windows as the procedure unfolded below. The surgery took hours. Placing the neural interface required incredible precision. One wrong movement could cause permanent damage. He will be all right, Lily's mother said, putting an arm around her daughter. The doctors know what they are doing. I know, Lily whispered, but knowing something and feeling it were different things. What if something went wrong? What if she had encouraged Aldrich to do something dangerous? The waiting was horrible. The Empress stood like a statue, her golden eyes never leaving the chamber where her son lay, surrounded by medical equipment. She had not moved or spoken in over an hour. Finally, she said quietly, "Your daughter gave my son something precious. She gave him the belief that he could be more than his limitations. Whatever happens today, I will always be grateful for that. Lily cares about him very much," her mother replied. "She talks about him every evening. Friendship between species is rare," the Empress said, "especially friendship without agenda or politics. They are simply two young people who found joy in each other's company. That is a pure thing. Down in the surgical chamber, Dr. Williams stepped back from the operating table. She spoke to her team, then looked up at the observation window and gave a thumbs up. The surgery was complete. Now came the waiting of a different kind. Aldrich would sleep for several hours while his body processed the trauma of surgery and began accepting the neural interface. The device would remain inactive during this time, giving his brain a chance to heal before introducing new sensory input. Lily finally fell asleep at her chair, exhausted from worry. When she woke, sunlight streamed through the windows. She had slept through the night. Her mother was dozing nearby, but the Empress was gone. Lily jumped up and ran to find someone who could tell her what was happening. A nurse directed her to a recovery room. Inside, Aldrich lay on a specialized bed designed for dragon anatomy. The Empress sat beside him, holding his clawed hand in hers. The neural interface was visible at the base of his skull, a sleek silver device no bigger than Lily's fist. Tiny cameras mounted on a thin band around Aldrich's head fed visual information to the interface. "Is he okay?" Lily asked quietly. "He is waking," the Empress said. "The doctors say the surgery was successful. Now we will see if the device works as intended." Aldrich stirred. His eyes opened slowly, still the same beautiful silver, still unseeing in the traditional sense. He groaned softly. "Mother, I am here, my son." "Lily, right here," Lily said, moving closer to the bed. "How do you feel?" "Strange. Dizzy. My head feels full of something I cannot describe." Aldrich tried to sit up, and the Empress helped support him. "Is the device working?" Dr. Williams entered the room with several assistants carrying monitoring equipment. "Prince Aldrich, welcome back. How are you feeling?" "Confused," Aldrich admitted. "Everything feels wrong, but not painful. Just overwhelming. That is normal. Right now, the interface is inactive. Before we turn it on, I need to prepare you for what comes next. When we activate the visual feed, your brain will receive sensory input unlike anything it has processed before. It will be confusing, possibly frightening. The sensations will not make sense initially, but your brain is extraordinary. It will begin finding patterns, making connections, learning to interpret the data. You must be patient with yourself." Aldrich took a deep breath. "I am ready. I will start with very limited input, just simple shapes and light levels. We will increase complexity gradually over the next days and weeks." Dr. Williams nodded to her assistant, who began adjusting settings on a control device. Activating in 3, 2, 1. Aldrich gasped. His whole body went rigid. "What is that?" I sense. There is something happening, but I do not understand it." "Describe what you are experiencing," Dr. Williams said calmly, monitoring his brain activity on her screens. "Pressure? No. Sound? No. It is neither but both. It comes from the direction where you're standing, doctor. It changes when you move. It has shape, dimension, but not in any way I have known before." Aldrich's voice was filled with wonder and confusion mixed together. "Your brain is receiving visual data but does not yet know how to classify it. Keep focusing on it. Try to understand the patterns." Dr. Williams walked slowly across the room. "You are moving," Aldrich said. "I can sense your movement through this new sensation. It is like echolocation, but constant and more detailed." He turned his head, and the camera band turned with him. "The shape changes when I move my head. I control what I sense by controlling where I look." "Exactly right," Dr. Williams said. "You are beginning to understand sight. This is excellent progress." Over the next hour, they ran simple tests. Dr. Williams held up objects at various distances. She turned lights on and off. She moved around the room in different patterns. Aldrich struggled to make sense of the input, but slowly, descriptions came easier. 3 objects now, one larger than the others. The large one is closer. It feels brighter somehow. You are detecting size, distance, and light levels, Dr. Williams confirmed. Your brain is mapping visual space. Lily watched in amazement as Aldrich went from complete confusion to tentative understanding. It was like watching someone learn a new language in fast motion. His brain was adapting to the neural interface faster than the doctors had predicted. By the end of the day, Aldrich could distinguish between people in the room based on their size and movement. He could tell when someone was facing him or turned away. He could sense walls and furniture, doorways and windows. It was not perfect vision, not yet, but it was undeniably perception of the visual world. That night, exhausted from the mental effort of processing entirely new sensations, Aldrich slept deeply. Lily stayed in his room, sitting in a chair beside his bed. The Empress had finally gone to rest, trusting Lily to watch over her SONI in the morning. Dr. Williams increased the interface's capability. Now it fed more detailed information about edges, textures, and contrast. Aldrich spent hours learning to interpret these new layers of data. "There is a pattern in front of me," he said, focusing intently on a wall decoration. "Repeating shapes, flowing lines. It is beautiful in a way I have never understood before." "You are seeing a carved relief," Dr. Williams explained. "A dragon in flight among clouds. The lines you sense are the edges of the carving." "I am seeing," Aldrich whispered. "It is actually working." By the third day, the doctors added color information to the visual feed. This was the most challenging addition. Aldrich's brain had no framework for understanding color, no reference for what red or blue meant. Dr. Williams decided to associate colors with sounds, using pitch to represent different wavelengths of light. "You already understand that sound has pitch," she explained. "High sounds, low sounds. We can map colors the same way. Red is a low hum. Blue is a high tone. Your brain will learn to recognize these as colors rather than sounds." It was strange at first. Aldrich described the world as a symphony of pitched hums overlaid on the shapes and movements he had learned to recognize. But human brains had done this same translation before, learning to see through other senses. Aldrich's dragon brain proved just as capable on the 5th day after surgery. Lily brought him to the garden where they had first met. It was the first time he had left the medical wing since the procedure. Guards accompanied them, along with Dr. Williams and her monitoring equipment. Aldrich stood at the garden entrance, cameras taking in the scene. He was quiet for a long moment. Then tears began streaming down his face. "What is wrong?" Lily asked, worried. "Does something hurt?" "No," Aldrich said, his voice breaking. "I'm seeing the garden. The trees, the fountains, the flowers you described to me. They are real. They are there. I can perceive them." He turned toward Lily, and for the first time, his eyes seemed to truly look at her. "And I can see you, my friend, the person who changed everything." The visual data his brain was processing was translated through touch and sound, filtered through neural pathways that had never carried such information before. He did not see exactly as other dragons saw. His vision was uniquely his own, a synthesis of human technology and dragon neurology. But it was undeniably sight. "What do I look like?" Lily asked. "Small," Aldrich said, laughing through his tears. "I knew you were small, but actually perceiving it is different. You barely reach my knee. Your shape is different from dragons, softer, rounder. And there's a color around your head, dark like deep water. Your hair, yes. Yes, it is brown, dark brown, brown," Aldrich repeated, learning the word. He looked around the garden, pointing at different objects. "Tell me the names of these colors. I want to know what I am seeing." So Lily walked him through the garden, naming colors and objects. The purple flowers, the silver grass, the blue glow of fountain water. Each name gave Aldrich context for the sensory patterns his brain was interpreting. He was not just seeing. He was learning to understand what sight meant, by the time they returned to the palace. Aldrich was mentally exhausted. Processing visual information constantly took enormous concentration. But he was smiling wider than anyone had ever seen him smile. That evening, the Empress came to see her son. He was resting in his chambers, the interface dimmed to low input to give his brain time to rest. "Mother," he said as she entered, "I saw you today. Truly saw you. You're magnificent." The Empress approached her son and touched her forehead to his. "I'm so proud of you. You were brave enough to try something impossible." "Not impossible," Aldrich corrected gently. "Just difficult. There is a difference." 2 months passed. Aldrich's ability to interpret visual data improved dramatically. He could now navigate the palace without assistance, recognize individuals by sight, and read text displayed on screens. His unique form of vision even offered unexpected advantages. The interface detected electromagnetic fields and heat signatures that normal dragon eyes could not perceive. He learned to see the world in layers of information no one else could access, but not everyone celebrated his success. The ceremony was meant to be a celebration. The Empress had declared a formal gathering to present Aldrich to the noble houses as her confirmed heir. Despite his unconventional sight, he had proven himself capable. The throne room was filled with hundreds of dragons from across the 17 star systems. Dignitaries, nobles, military commanders, all gathered to witness the prince's official recognition. Lily attended with her mother, wearing the formal clothes humans used for diplomatic events. She stood with the other ambassadors on a raised platform, watching as Aldrich entered the throne room. He walked with confidence now, his neural interface seamlessly integrated into his life. The cameras around his head had been redesigned to look more elegant, almost like a crown of silver. The ceremony proceeded with traditional dragon rituals. Aldrich knelt before his mother. The Empress placed a clawed hand on his head and spoke the ancient words that confirmed him as heir. The assembled nobles responded with the traditional acknowledgement, though some voices sounded grudging. As Aldrich rose, Lily noticed something strange through the crowd. 3 dragons positioned at different points in the room were all facing Aldrich with unusual intensity. Their postures were tense, coiled. One of them, she realized with a shock, was Sarita, the noble who had spoken against Aldrich's treatment. That Lily's heart started pounding. Something was wrong. The Empress began her speech about unity and the future of their people. Aldrich stood beside her, tall and proud. That was when Lily saw one of the 3 dragons reach toward a device at their belt. "Look out!" Lily shouted, her small voice somehow cutting through the formal ceremony. Everything happened at once. The 3 conspirators activated their devices simultaneously. Electromagnetic pulse weapons, designed to disable technology. The throne room's lights flickered. Screens went dark. Communication systems died. And Aldrich's neural interface sparked violently, overloaded by the electromagnetic assault. Aldrich cried out in pain, grabbing his head. The visual input that had become normal to him suddenly exploded into chaos, then went dark. Blind again, disoriented, he stumbled. The conspirators moved fast. Sarita launched herself toward the Empress, claws extended. The other 2 blocked the guards who tried to intervene. It was a coup attempt, planned to look like they were protecting the realm from a compromised heir. If they could disable Aldrich and claim his artificial sight made him vulnerable, they could justify challenging the Empress's rule. But they had made a critical error in their planning. When the electromagnetic pulse disabled visible light cameras in Aldrich's interface, backup systems activated automatically. The device began processing other electromagnetic wavelengths: infrared, ultraviolet, radio frequencies, magnetic fields. The neural interface was designed by humans who understood that sight could mean many things that Aldrich's head snapped up. His unseeing silver eyes somehow focused directly on Sarita, even though she approached from the side, where normal peripheral vision would be blocked. "Stop," Aldrich commanded, his voice ringing with authority. He moved faster than anyone expected. The months of adapting to his interface had trained his reflexes to trust the sensory input completely. He did not hesitate or doubt what his modified sight told him. Aldrich intercepted Sarita mid-leap, catching her with precisely calculated force. They crashed to the ground together, but Aldrich had positioned himself perfectly to control the fall. At the same moment, he shouted exact positions. "Guards, 3 attackers. One in my position, one at northwest pillar 12 paces from the throne, one at the eastern entrance behind the delegation from the 4th system." The guards reacted instantly. They seized the other 2 conspirators exactly where Aldrich indicated, even though the room was in chaos and the backup lights barely illuminated anything. Aldrich had given them perfect coordinates despite his primary cameras being disabled. Sarita struggled beneath Aldrich's weight. You should not be able to see me. The pulse should have blinded you. You disable my cameras, Aldrich said calmly, holding her down until guards arrived to secure her. But humans design my interface with redundancy. I'm seeing you through heat signatures and electromagnetic fields right now. I can perceive the electrical activity in your nervous system as you try to break free. I can sense the metal weapons concealed under your ceremonial robes. I can even detect the elevated electromagnetic signature of your communication device as it tries to signal your other Confederates outside the palace. He leaned closer. You wanted to prove I was weak because of my artificial sight. Instead, you proved that it makes me stronger than you ever imagined. The throne room erupted in chaos as guards moved through the crowd, identifying and arresting other conspirators based on the electromagnetic signatures Aldrich could detect that revealed hidden weapons and communication devices. There had been more rebels than just the three who acted in the throne room. Aldrich methodically identified each one, describing their exact positions even in the darkened room. The Empress, shaken but unharmed, looked at her son with awe. How did you know? I saw them preparing to attack. Even before Lily shouted, I detected the power buildup in their pulse weapons. The electromagnetic charge created a distinctive signature. Aldrich released Sarita to the guards and stood, turning to face his mother. My sight is different from yours. Sometimes that is a disadvantage. But today, it saved your life. Lily ran down from the ambassador platform, dodging through confused nobles until she reached Aldrich. Are you okay? Your interface sparked. Did it hurt? It hurt, Aldrich admitted. But the pain cleared quickly once the backup systems engaged. Human engineers build their technology to survive failures. Redundancy, they call it. Always have a backup plan. He looked down at Lily, his unique vision processing the infrared heat patterns and electromagnetic field that was his friend. Thank you for the warning. You gave me the extra second I needed to understand what was happening. You saved your mom, Lily said. You were amazing. I was what I needed to be, Aldrich replied. What you taught me to be. Adaptable. The Empress approached them, stepping carefully around the guards who were securing prisoners. My son, you have silenced every critic today. You demonstrated abilities no other dragon possesses. You detected threats no one else could see. You moved with precision despite your primary systems being disabled. If anyone questions your fitness to rule after this, they're fools. The noble dragons who had harbored doubts about Aldrich's artificial sight were talking among themselves in stunned tones. They had witnessed something unprecedented. The prince they had dismissed as weak and compromised had just proven himself superior to traditionally sighted dragons in the one moment when it mattered most. Over the following days, interrogations revealed the full extent of the conspiracy. Sarita and her followers had planned to kill the Empress and Aldrich, then claimed they were protecting the throne from human contamination. They believed other noble houses would support them in establishing a more traditional leadership. Instead, their failed coup exposed them as traitors and actually strengthened the Empress's position. More importantly, it changed how dragon society viewed disability and assistive technology. Aldrich's unique sight had saved lives. His artificial enhancement had proven more capable than natural ability in a critical situation. Nobles who had been skeptical began requesting information about human medical technology for their own family members with various disabilities. Dr. Williams found herself suddenly in high demand. Dragon families who had hidden away relatives with genetic conditions or injuries now came forward seeking help. The collaboration between human and dragon medicine expanded rapidly, but for Lily, time was running out. The 3-month diplomatic mission was ending. Her mother's work on Ashera was complete. Soon they would return to Earth. Lily spent her last days on the planet in the garden with Aldrich. They sat under the silver tree where they had first met, watching the sunset together. Aldrich could see the colors now, could appreciate the beauty Lily had once described in words. I do not want you to leave, Aldrich said quietly. You're my best friend. My only real friend, perhaps. You will make other friends now, Lily said, though her own eyes were watery. You are not hiding anymore. People will see how great you are. They will see the prince who saved the Empress. They will not see me the way you do. You never saw a blind prince or a disabled heir. You just saw Aldrich, someone who needed a friend and a chance. You will always be just Aldrich to me, Lily said. And we can still talk. There are communication systems. We can send messages across space. It is not the same as being here, but it is better than nothing. Aldrich reached out and carefully took her small hand in his clawed one. His interface processed the visual data of their joined hands, so different in size and structure, and yet fitting together perfectly. Thank you for believing in me before anyone else did. Thank you for showing me that impossible just means nobody has tried the right way yet. That is very human of you, Lily said with a small smile. Perhaps I am part human now, Aldrich replied. Part dragon, part technology, part human philosophy. Maybe that combination is better than any one piece alone. The sun set over the garden, painting the sky in colors Aldrich had learned to name and appreciate. Purple like cinnamon flowers, orange like warmth itself, red like the deep rumble of distant thunder. His unique sight translated it all into sensation and understanding. Tomorrow, Lily would board a ship back to Earth. But today, two friends sat together and watched the day end, both knowing that some things transcend distance and species. Friendship, gratitude, and the memory of changing each other's lives forever. 15 years was a long time in human years, but barely a moment in the life of a dragon. For Lily, those years transformed her from a curious 9-year-old into a professional diplomat at age 24. She had studied xenobiology and interspecies relations at university. She had learned 7 alien languages. She had traveled to 30 different star systems on various missions. But she never forgot the purple flowers that smelled like cinnamon, or the blind prince who became her first real friend. They had kept in touch through all those years. Messages sent across the vast distances between Earth and Ashera. Aldrich told her about learning to rule, about changing dragon laws to protect those with disabilities, about establishing the first medical research facility that combined dragon and human knowledge. Lily told him about her studies, her travels, her dreams of bridging gaps between species. Now she was returning to Ashera, not as a child tagging along with her mother, but as Earth's official ambassador to the Dragon Empress. Well, not the Empress anymore. Aldrich's mother had stepped down 3 years ago, passing the throne to her son as dragon tradition allowed once an heir proved capable. Aldrich was emperor now that Lily's ship descended through Ashara's atmosphere, passing through the same purple clouds she remembered from childhood. The capital city had grown since her last visit. New districts sprawled outward from the ancient palace complex. But the palace itself remained unchanged, a massive structure of white stone and crystalline towers. The delegation waited at the landing pad. Dragons in formal armor, human advisors who had stayed after the original medical mission, and, at the center, Emperor Aldrich himself. He had grown massive in the intervening years, his deep blue scales now edged with silver that marked his royal status. The neural interface had been updated multiple times, becoming sleeker and more powerful with each iteration. It looked like a natural part of him now, elegant bands of silver that caught the light. Lily stepped off the ship, suddenly nervous. Would he even remember her the same way she remembered him? 15 years was a long time. People changed at Aldrich's head, turned as she approached. His modified sight tracked her movement across the landing pad. Then his face broke into a huge smile, showing rows of sharp teeth that should have been frightening but somehow just looked happy. You are taller than I remember, Aldrich said as she reached the delegation, though still quite small by dragon standards. Lily laughed, feeling the nervousness dissolve. You're a lot bigger, and apparently an emperor now. Should I bow, or was something formal like that? Officially, yes, but not yet. First, I greet my friend. Aldrich lowered himself to the ground, making himself less imposing, more approachable. Welcome home, Lily. Home, Lily repeated softly. I like that. She stepped forward and hugged his massive foreleg, the only part of him she could reach comfortably. I missed you. I missed you too. Messages across space are not the same as talking face to face. Aldrich stood back up and gestured toward the palace. Cool, mate. I have much to show you. The galaxy has changed significantly since you were last here, much of it because of what we started together. As they walked through the palace grounds, Aldrich explained the transformations that had occurred. The medical research facility he had founded now employed thousands of scientists from dozens of species. They had developed treatments for conditions previously thought incurable. Neural interfaces like his own had helped not just dragons, but members of other species as well. We call it the Lily Protocol, Aldrich said as they entered a building near the palace. The treatment philosophy you introduced when you were 9 years old. Do not try to fix what cannot be fixed. Instead, adapt. Find another way. Work with what exists rather than mourning what does not. He showed her wards filled with dragons living full lives despite various disabilities. Some used prosthetic limbs designed with human engineering principles. Some had neural interfaces for different purposes. Some used sensory substitution devices. All of them were thriving, integrated into dragon society rather than hidden away. This is incredible, Lily said, watching a young dragon practice flying with mechanical wing supports. You built all this. We built this, Aldrich corrected. Your ideas, your human perspective, your refusal to accept that anything was truly impossible. I simply had the resources to make it real. They continued to the research laboratories where human and dragon scientists worked side by side. Dr. Williams was still there, now much older, but still passionate about her work. She greeted Lily with a warm hug. Look at you, the doctor said, all grown up and following in your mother's footsteps. We could use someone with your diplomatic skills here. The research is expanding to include 6 more species, and coordinating everyone requires more than just scientific knowledge. Lily spent hours touring the facilities, meeting researchers, seeing the incredible work being done. But the most emotional moment came when Aldrich brought her to the royal gardens. The place where they had first met looked exactly as she remembered. The purple flowers still grew along the walls. The fountains still glowed with blue water. The silver tree still chimed softly in the wind. Under that tree sat a stone monument. Carved into it were 2 figures, a small human child and a young dragon, sitting together on a bench. The inscription read, "Friendship sees no barriers." In memory of the day, everything changed. Lily felt tears running down her face. You remembered. How could I forget? Aldrich sat on the bench beside the monument, in the same spot where he had sat 15 years ago. This is where I learned that being different was not the same as being broken. This is where I found hope. This is where a 9-year-old human girl decided that helping a blind dragon was more important than following diplomatic protocols. Lily sat beside him, much larger now, but still tiny compared to a full-grown dragon emperor. I did not know what I was doing back then. I just thought you looked sad and lonely. I wanted to help. That is exactly why it worked. You did not see a political opportunity or a medical challenge or a chance to prove human superiority. You saw someone who needed a friend. That pure motivation changed everything. Aldrich looked at her with his unique sight, perceiving her through layers of data that normal eyes could never see. The galaxy needs more of that. More people who see individuals rather than political pieces. More connections based on genuine care rather than strategic advantage. Is that why you requested me specifically as Earth's ambassador? Lily asked. I was surprised when I got the assignment. I am young for such an important position. I requested you because I trust you, because you understand what we are trying to build here. Dragon society is changing. We are opening up to other species in ways we never did before. We are acknowledging that we do not have all the answers. That sometimes the smallest voice carries the most important wisdom. Aldrich gestured with his wing toward the city beyond the garden walls. But not everyone is happy about these changes. There are still those who believe dragons should remain isolated, superior, unchanging. I need an ambassador who understands why adaptation is strength, not weakness. You need someone who will tell you the truth, even when it is uncomfortable, Lily said. Someone who sees you as Aldrich, not just as Emperor. Exactly. Aldrich smiled. Think you can handle that? I handled you when you were a grumpy, blind teenager. I think I can manage you as an Emperor. They sat together in comfortable silence, watching the sun begin to set over the garden. The same sunset they had watched 15 years ago, but everything was different now. Aldrich ruled 17 star systems. Lily represented her entire planet. The medical research facility behind them was changing lives across multiple species. And it all traced back to this garden, to a chance meeting between a lonely prince and a curious child. You know what I think about sometimes? Aldrich said quietly. What would have happened if you had not wandered into this garden that day? If you had found the bathroom like you were supposed to? If you had been too afraid to talk to a dragon? If you had listened to all the rules about staying away from royalty? But I did not, Lily said simply. I was lost and curious, and too young to know I should be scared. Sometimes the best things happen because we do not know they are supposed to be impossible. The human way, Aldrich said, echoing word from long ago. Finding solutions where others see impossibility. I have been studying human history, you know. Your species has faced extinction dozens of times. Climate change, disease, war, resource scarcity. You survived because you adapted, because you worked together, because you refused to accept defeat. That resilience, that flexibility, that stubborn hope, those are the real reasons humans have spread across the galaxy despite being physically weaker than most species. We're good at figuring things out, Lily agreed, and making friends, even with dragons who pretend to be grumpy. I was genuinely grumpy, Aldrich protested. 15 years of blindness and being told I was unfit to exist will do that. And now you are an emperor who can see in ways no one else can, who changed the laws of 17 star systems, and who built a research facility that is healing people across multiple species. I think the grumpy blind kid did pretty well for himself. Aldrich laughed, a deep rumbling sound that made the fountain waters ripple. We did pretty well, both of us, together, as the sun fully set, painting the sky in those same beautiful colors Aldrich had learned to name and appreciate. Lily leaned against her friend's scaled side. They watched the stars begin to appear, distant points of light that represented countless worlds, countless species, countless possibilities for connection and understanding. Thank you, Aldrich said softly, for everything, for being my friend when no one else would, for showing me a different way to see, for never giving up on me. Thank you for letting me help, Lily replied, for trusting a weird human kid who did not know when to follow the rules, for proving that impossible is just another word for not tried yet. They sat together under the silver tree as the stars brightened overhead. A human and a dragon, an ambassador and an emperor. But more importantly, two friends who had changed each other's lives and, in doing so, had changed the galaxy itself. The story that began with a little girl helping a blind prince see had become a legend told across star systems. But for Lily and Aldrich, it was simply the story of their friendship, and that was more than enough. The purple flowers along the garden wall released their cinnamon scent into the evening air, and in the distance, young dragons and human children played together in the courtyard. Growing up in a universe where helping each other across the boundaries of species was normal, expected, celebrated. They would never know a world where cooperation was rare, where disability meant exclusion, where being different meant being less. That was the real legacy, not the monuments or the research facilities or the changed laws. The real legacy was the simple idea that every individual deserved a chance, that every challenge had a solution, and that the best answers often came from the most unexpected places, sometimes from a 9-year-old girl who got lost looking for the bathroom and accidentally changed the universe.